Welcome back to the Stuff for Whatever podcast. Be Quan Chi, Brian here. And another week, another podcast. So hopefully I'll be able to do this more on a regular basis. I know there's not really too much people listening or all that, but I want to get in the habit of mentioning. If you like, comment, subscribe, I really appreciate it. Follow on Twitter and Twitch. I'm trying to get back into streaming. Just because, like I said, I would like to see in the future more like engagement or direct interactions or stuff like that, instead of just like thinking stuff off the top of my head. But I've been kind of getting in the habit of writing down things and trying different stuff. Maybe this will be interesting, maybe funny, maybe insightful, but who knows? But here's the podcast for this week. And one thing I wanted to talk about, I know it's pretty new because it just aired this week. But there's that new show on Fox, like the singing competition, Alter Ego. And we're seeing the promotion. I know like the big thing is like they had these people backstage wearing these full motion capture suits. They kind of create their own avatar or own alter ego, as they say in the show. And the technology, it was pretty cool, and kind of seeing them perform like in the promos was looking pretty cool. But then actually watching the show, there's some things about it that just like doesn't seem as great. I mean, visually it still looks really good, but two things that really bug me about the show is when they're performing, a lot of times the microphone would be not facing the mouth, like it'd be just a little bit lower than it should be. So you get the awkward, like, if you saw an actual performer, they were singing more directly in the mic, but then you see the alter ego, like, it's slightly lower or slightly off than what should naturally be holding it as. And sometimes even the lip syncing is pretty bad. Like, I joked on Twitter and stuff like that too, but you kind of think like that's probably why they have so many cuts to audience and so many cuts to judges. It's one of those competition shows that they get all the audience reactions and judge reactions to the performance. But I feel like if the main thing is visually the alter ego, it's like I didn't mention this, but it's like, I guess it's like a hologram or something. It looks like honestly really good. If you just look at the basics of it, like an actual like 3D person standing there, and some of them do like neat effects too. Like there was one that did a little fire effect and stuff like that. But like the things that this, it's not like too bad, but it's just bad enough like it becomes really distracting. Like I said, the mic holding and the lip syncing, the movements seem pretty good. Like, you get to see what the people look like in the capture shoots. It's the technology is really cool, but also it feels like they like sucking the special effects people's dicks or something. Like they talk so much about how amazing it is. Like, it's, I guess I don't get too much into like reality show competitions anymore. Remember way back in the day of American Idol, they would be at least more critical. And at least like Simon Cowell was like the more critical one, but they wouldn't stray away from being even negative. But this one just feels too positive and like all that. And I'm not sure what the end game is. I think it's like an ongoing competition, and they're gonna bring in more people, more alter egos and stuff like that, kind of like a tournament. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick with it. But it's funny that they say so many like positive things, and honestly, some of the singing is, well, I'm not a good singer, so I have no place to really speak. But sometimes the singing doesn't seem as good. Like, definitely not like the American Idol, The Voice, or those kind of things. It's kind of interesting because you get to see some of the backstory, and it's really interesting. Like, one person has like Crohn's disease, and it says like a lot of times his discomfort can be a little distracting. And one person had a he's called himself like a baby face, and sometimes having and being like shy and stuff like that too. So I think it's a really cool concept, and it just feels like it just falls a little bit short for what it is. But I don't know. Comment below if you ever seen that, or feedback on that. But like I said, it seems like they're trying to make a big hit show. I don't see it really lasting. It looks neat, but I kind of wish it was a little bit better. And one thing I want to talk about, I know this isn't the newest news, but it's more video game stuff. But it was video games I grew up with as a kid. But they announced that they're going to remaster Monster Hunter 1 and 2. And it's coming out, I believe, this December. And I'm looking forward to it. It was really cool. I don't know if you want to call it like kind of like a Pokemon game because it's like, hey, you have a creature that you train and battle and fights. It's kind of like that. But the big thing back in the day with PlayStation is that when you want a monster, and for the most part of the game mechanics are the other ways to get monster too. But like to get a monster, you would go to this shrine and put a CD. Like your game would prompt you to open up the PlayStation, remove the disc, and put in whatever CD you want, and you get a monster. I remember it was really cool because some specific CDs give you specific monsters, even like rare ones and stuff like that too. I think Tecmo made that. I think there was like some certain games or CDs and music albums that give you like really rare specific monster, but like each album would have its own monster. So I think what it would look like, a little bit that I saw, I think the mechanics is like there's like a database that you look up, so it seems like it kind of takes away a lot of the magic and fun of the original mechanics. But it'd be cool to see how they update the gameplay. It was more unique. I know it's like fighting monsters and stuff like that, but I remember the battles like based on where your distance is. You can choose command. And it's like one of those things like it's kind of automated, but also kind of you can control them too. And I know it's coming to Steam, but also to Switch too, which seems pretty cool. Because one thing I would like to see in the Switch version is maybe incorporate amiibos to get monsters. I try to think if I think it might be on other platforms too. I know Steam and Switch for sure. It'd be kind of weird to just have like the Switch version have this really exclusive mechanic, but I guess it'd be really cool to use amiibos to get even specific monsters, even like Switch exclusive ones, stuff like that. I actually, and I talk about amiibo, but I don't own any. I think they're kind of cool, but it seems like I would rather buy them at the store and I like never see them and all that. And some of them seem kind of gimmicky. Like I know it's like the Switch games that you buy and stuff like that, but it always feels like pay to play kind of stuff in a sense that if you get these specific amiibos, they have this specific effect in a game. The only the current example that I can think of is Skyward Sword, the HD remaster. Is that like the Zelda and the Loftling? I think the little bird creature. It like there's a little quality of life mechanic that you can like fly in the sky when you like use it when you're on the ground or on the level, whatever like that. But that's the ideas I wanted to talk about. Monster Hunter 1, 2, and I'm trying to think how old it is. I think that's why it's like an anniversary, so I think that's why they're pushing it and all that. And I know some other game stuff. It hasn't aired it yet by recording this podcast. Usually I try to record these a little ahead of time, but I know the Nintendo Direct is coming up. I'm not sure if they're gonna have news for that. Kind of looking forward to it because everyone was predicting like the the last character for Smash DLC. And that's probably all going to be announced before this is published. But I'm not sure if we might do like a little mini cast about it. I know a lot of the gaming channels out there and like Nintendo channels and stuff like that can probably present it a lot better. I'm ready to do the one for E3, so who knows? I might feel on the whim talk about it, at least throw in my 2 cents. Although I'm sure other people's opinions are more valuable or more important. Who knows? But just some ideas I've been thinking about. And one thing, this is just a stupid thing I just kind of wrote down and thought it'd be like a fun idea like to talk about. But I never really watch those mukbang videos. I'm not sure if those are still a thing, but those videos where people just eat food and talk. I'm not sure if it's always has to be live streamed or not. And I think it's like really big in, is it South Korea or one of those countries in Asia? Because I feel like some of the appeal, like what they say the appeal is that is like you're having dinner or a meal with a friend, but it's like someone just eating. All I can think about, don't know his name offhand. I know it's something avocado, like is it Tony Avocado or something. I just know he was on Tosh.0, and I think I've seen screenshots and stuff like that. But I think it would be like ridiculous amounts of food too, like a huge pizza or something that I think like a lot of spaghetti or stuff like that. But I brought that up because I don't know if this is a thing with mukbangs, but it should be, and I would be totally on board. But can you imagine if they had like sponsored mukbangs, like a fast food or whatever restaurant provided a lot of food, paid the content creator or whatever or influencer, whatever you want to say, but have a sponsored mukbang? That would be like, I would like live for that. Like even something like Taco Bell, like Just eat a bunch of Taco Bell, talk on camera, and maybe interact with chat. Because I think that's a big thing with mukbangs. I'm not sure because I never really watched them. Like the chat interaction is a big thing. Um, but yeah, and sometimes people can be really foodies. Like if you're trying new food or specific food, like what do you think of that food? I can just imagine eating a bunch of Taco Bell and getting paid for it. Because if anyone's working in fast food or any restaurants listening, that would be kind of like a new way of marketing stuff. I know there's ads and commercials everywhere, but imagine it's like being paid to eat food. Which I guess is a kind of sense too, because there's a lot of like TV shows like that, like on the Food Network, and probably like a lot of blogs too. So I'm sure a lot of people technically get paid for eating food one way or another. But just imagine like being sponsored to just gorge on food, like eat a crap load of Taco Bell or McDonald's or whatever. Because if I were to be behind it, I'd say maybe get like $50 worth of food or a good like amount, and also pay the like since it's like advertising marketing, like pay them too. I'm not sure, like maybe extra 500 or more because it is marketing, but sometimes it's hard to say, how valuable or whatever the marketing is versus like doing a huge like print ad or online ad or commercials on TV and stuff like that, like those campaigns, whatever. I think that's the word to use. But just imagine being just whatever person on Twitch, like a Twitch streamer, and you get paid plus your meal comp to eat a bunch of food. I would honestly quit my that could be a regular gig. I would honestly quit my job and commit myself to that. But and if anyone's watching, I would want to be sponsored from streaming mukbangs for whatever restaurant and whatever food and all that. And one thing I wanted to talk about in this podcast, maybe try this. I'm not sure if this is going to be like a regular thing, but something I maybe want to do more often is like talk about like weird news or like what the fuck news stories that I come across. So I have a few, and maybe we call this the whatever report for this podcast. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do a regular thing. But I found a couple stories. Not one of my doubts about it is that I'm not sure if I'm always going to find content like news stories, which would be cool. Like if I had more like people engage, like send me stuff like, "Hey, have you heard this? Have you heard that?" But I have a few. I'm not sure if there's good Reddit pages or subreddits that talk about weird news stories. That's one thing I need to hop on to. I'm not really much of a Reddit person. I'm not sure if we can find some interesting stories or content or whatever. I know I think pretty much you can just say like a message board, just like really huge one about like almost every fandom or category or stuff like that too. But I found 4 stories that I wanted to talk about. This first one we'll get into is more like what the fuck it's a story about a 15-year-old who self-inserted a USB cable into his urethra, and it's on Science Direct website. I'm not too familiar with the website, but like the article is more like a report case. Like it's kind of like a little bit more formal in a sense like that. But there's an X-ray of it, and like what it looks like after it's been taken out. It's kind of weird. I didn't want to like dissect everything, and it kind of gives me the chills just like looking at it. So it's like just the wire, a USB like there's the wide USB port, and I think it's like a macro or something. And I don't think I'm not sure how it's even inserted. Like it was just like the middle wire, and he's gonna push it in from the middle, but it got like really weird and knotted. I guess like you see the pictures. I'm not sure exactly how it's done, but someone. And it looks pretty long too. Like it's a pretty long USB cable. So, like, I almost want to like gag a little bit looking at it. And maybe if this becomes more of a thing, I might link stories. I'm not sure how much effort I want to put in if it's not getting much attention. But it's a case of someone shoving a USB cable up their urethra. And it was a guy, a 15-year-old boy, if I wasn't specific. Because I'm not sure if that's a big thing with females, just because. I don't know. I know the term is called sounding when it comes to like self-insertion, but usually there's like specific toys or tools made specifically for that function. It's a fetish. No need to kink shame or anything like that. But I that's just a weird what the fuck story I wanted to share. Another one. This took place. It was reported on AP News, but it took place in Germany. And what happened is that this guy who burgled a kindergarten class, and he took a couple things like various objects, like some food, a laptop, some books. But there was like a storytelling gadget, like a speaker. Um, they don't really specify what it is. It's kind of a short, small article, but it's like a little thing, like maybe like an Alexa or Google Home. But I think it's maybe more intended to like download stories for kids. And what had happened is that about a month later, he tried to get new stories on a device. And what happened is that it his home location was like revealed to the manufacturer to inform the police. So just because he's trying to get new stories, like, hey, I'm here. Like the device said, hey, I'm at this location, and yeah, he got caught. So and all that, and he does face criminal charges. But just because he tried to use the device, the smart device, the smart speaker to get more stories, he got busted. And I'm not sure. It's a very small story, so it doesn't sound like maybe too much. Like the laptop sounds like the most expensive item. I don't even know why people. Yeah, it sounds kind of a stupid thing. I think even if you like burger from a, I'm not sure if it's like a public school. There's like not too much details in the story, but if you can steal from a school, that's really shitty and all that. But it's kind of funny that he tried to use it a month later and he got busted. Kind of makes you think about like technology, like how what's revealed and stuff like that too. So, anyways, and this one is more of a spooky story. It happened in the UK. What happened is that a man got a new home, and they found in a wall a spooky doll that had a message that this doll stabbed and killed the owners back in 1961. It's a New York Post. But it sounds kind of fake. I think obviously it's fake. Because when you look at it, shows a picture of a doll. Like I guess he broke away some drywall or something. There was like a little doll with this little handwritten note. The doll looks kind of old fashioned, but it doesn't look like an old doll. Like it doesn't look like it's aged or dirty or anything like that. So it looks like most recent homeowners just placed it there as a prank. It's funny, and there's like saying in an article like the real estate agent said like that part of the kitchen was only done about 4 or 5 years ago. So I think that's a big indication that it's fake. But it's kind of like one of those weird things. Like it even showed the letter of it, and the paper. It looks pretty like new. Like you think the letter would be really aged and worn, even if it was just like securely in one place. But like a message that they like the doll's name is Emily. And they killed the original homeowners back in 1961 and all that. But kind of weird, creepy. Like it kind of like that movie Annabelle and stuff like that. The doll itself doesn't look too creepy. It's a little like old stuffed doll with like yarn blonde hair. But kind of a fun story. I wonder how often that happens when people try to leave a prank or stuff like that when they move from a home for the new homeowners to find. Like if it's kind of like horror or supernatural and stuff like that. And then the last story I want to talk about is kind of more like what the fuck and all that. But this happened in Oklahoma in the grocery store. I don't think it's specified which one, but apparently a guy took a shit in the freezer of a grocery store, like right on top of some pizza rolls, and that just sounds messed up. They interviewed a lady. I guess what happened is like they like took a shit, defecated on the pizza roll, and they put another bag on top of it to hide it so it wasn't too obvious. And then the woman who like picked the bag and like noticed that it, because it said it was like soft or something like that. Just kind of looking through the stories. Yes, something smushy. And that thing that grossed me out. Like, of course, no one's a really big fan of shit, but I always feel like other people's shit. Like that's one thing I hate about public bathrooms. I'm almost gagging a little bit just thinking about it. But for like other people's like shit smells a whole lot worse. Like, because growing up, I'm a teenage. Like, I have like my nephew too, and I changed a diaper once or twice in my day, and yeah, oof, uh, yeah. I'm thinking about. I do have dogs, and I have to deal with their shit all the time, literally and figuratively. Kind of, imagine getting pizza or. But yeah, and I guess it was an update on the story is that they found the guy and they have it apprehended. To more police, Moore police. So yeah, but it says Oklahoma City. Yeah. I don't even know why someone have the calls. Like when I heard the story, I didn't know like if it was like planted or stuff like that. But it made it sound like he actually defecated in the freezer. And I don't know if it has the gall balls to do that. But also, they said like the guys were trying to like the same guy was like trying to take pictures of female customers. So it seems like a really shitty guy. No pun intended, but maybe. But some people are messed up. But yeah, that's my little whatever report for What the Fuck News or whatever. So who knows? If I find more stuff, I'll try to make an archive and stuff like that. And let me know in the comments, like if you'd like me to do that, or like send me stories or tweet me stories, or if you want me to post links, like even in the description. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have the motivation to, just because I feel like if it's not something no one really cares about, I don't know what kind of effort I want to make. But I thought it'd be a fun way to just like talk about these stories and. But yeah, so to sum it up, there was urethra's failing with a USB cable. There was a guy getting busted because the smart speaker outed him, outed his location. What was the other one? The defecation one in the grocery store. Oh yeah, and a spooky doll. So those are the fun stories for this podcast. So make that more often. Who knows? But let me know if you like to kind of hear the stories or good resources if you like to listen to those what the fuck news, or I don't know if that's like the keyword for it or whatever, but there's kind of this new article that seems like why would someone do that, kind of like Florida Man kind of stories kind of thing. It's like okay, another thing I wanted to talk about, because this is something I almost had to do, but I got the little postcard for jury duty, like the little preliminary one that says, hey, you may be called into jury duty, like not even to get not selected, but like to report to the courthouse and be like interviewed or questioned. And it's like one of those things like they said, I think maybe like a month or maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the actual date that you get the little lingling postcard, and it says like to find out you have to call this number by, I know here it's like 5 p.m. the day before the date. So you're like dreading and waiting, and then you have to like call and listen for your group number. If it's not called, and you don't have to report. So luckily that I didn't have to report for jury duty. So happy for that. But I was kind of researching because I was like thinking like one thing that sucked about jury duty. I'm not sure if they make exceptions, but like if you had missed work for jury duty, I was looking into it, and they don't really compensate you at all. It really sucks. I'm not sure if this like differs from state to state or country, what have you. I'm not sure how different the judicial system is for different countries and all that. But in U.S. and Arizona, I was looking in like the compensation is like if you're selected, it's like $12 a day. Plus, I forget, there was like some for mileage too. And it's like very very cheap, like pennies for each mile. I just think that's just like really fucked up and really messed up, because I know at least in Arizona, maybe just the county I live in, is that the only really laws is that an employer can't discourage an employee from serving jury duty. They don't have to pay them like if they had to. I think maybe some bigger companies might. And that's cool. I think that should be the thing. Like if you get called for jury duty, you should get like paid leave time that doesn't affect like your sick or vacation time. So you're like if someone like an employee has to miss work to report for jury duty, the employee can be like fired and like, oh, you missed work or all that, or threatening to write them up or punish them in any way. So there's that, even though it's kind of a small protection, but what they reimburse you is just like shit. like I kind of feel like they should at least give you like a good amount, like maybe I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do like mental math in my head, like what the minimum wage is here, and all that. And I'm not. I doubt it would be like a full 8 hour day, but this should give you like a decent like pay each day you serve jury duty, not just $12. That's like almost criminal. I think that's why. Again, I'm not sure if that differs from state to state, but I feel like you know that they have laws to discourage employers from friendly employees, but I feel like just the system itself is discouraging. Like you don't want to be like, hey, if I show up jury duty, I'm going to miss a day of work pay or even longer, and that's going to like financially like fuck me over. So I really think there should be like laws and stuff like that. Again, it's not something I really looked into, so who knows? But just from little research I did by almost being called for jury duty, it feels like fuck. Because I was almost thinking like, hey, if it was actually decent reimbursement, I wouldn't mind. Like if it was, because it was actually my day off, is that it would have been the day I had to go in. So I was like, oh, at least it's not too bad. Like maybe I won't have to miss work or anything like that and get extra money. But even that, that's like fuck that. Like I think there's free parking, but if you like paid for like parking, because a lot of well, at least the courthouse was like downtown, and I know like parking can be a little bit too, especially for a long amount of time, or even messing up and like getting the parking ticket because you didn't know how long it was going to take, or whatever, or feed the meter. Yeah, I think it's a fucking criminal. Like speaking of judicial system, but they should like actually pay jurors like an actual living wage in a sense. Like, hey, if you're gonna be performing this service, I know it's like, oh, you're doing your civic duty and blah blah blah, and be part of the system, for fair trials, blah blah blah. You know, I don't know how fucked the justice system really is, but I feel like if they're gonna require people to do jury duty, they need to like actually compensate them. You know how much money they make off like certain cases and fees and stuff like that. I'm not sure like when they need to be a jury or not. So I think those are like more maybe more criminal cases or whatever. But I feel like if people are going to serve on a jury, they should be compensated. Like actually like make because their time is valuable. You should actually value people for their time and you know even like I know this I think a different state, but like how waiter and waitress in the food service industry get paid a lot lower wage hourly, and then they make the money off tips. Like even that is better than um, serving a jury, like bussing tables or whatever. Not to see mean people in those lower positions, because I really appreciate service people who work deal with a lot of crap like waitresses and stuff like that. But I would rather do that than serve on a jury. So I'm not trying to like get a comment someone having more insight about like what happens from state to state or like the differences. But I'm trying to think. I'm not sure if this is true, but I think like if you're called but not selected, you don't have to serve jury duty. Like you get like a list or something, so you can't be summoned again for like 7 years or a couple years. Or I'm not sure if that varies if you do serve or not. But I think the whole system's fucked. I think that's why you always see like the TV shows, the cartoons that have that as like a little plot line for the episode. Like people dread it and stuff like that. Also, I'm not sure the consequences of missing jury duty. Like if you're like called but you don't report, because I think that can lead into legal trouble. If someone in the comment section knows, I love to hear some more insight, because I think the only thing that comes to mind is that one episode of American Dad, that when like Stan was on a jury for Roger, and at the end, Roger's on a jury when Stan's on a trial. But yeah, that's just the whole system's kind of fucked and all that. But that's probably why no one wants to serve jury duty. Yeah, so I think this is going to kind of wind down the podcast. I've been kind of wrecking like kind of feels like sometimes it's hard to like think of stuff to talk about. Maybe have to write down more stuff, like at least like current. I don't know if I want to be like too current, because I don't want to try too hard to be like the flavor of the week and stuff like that. To talk about big stories, and sometimes it kind of feels a little intimidating, like when you see other channels do it a lot better, especially if they have more of a wider audience and more relevance. So again, I appreciate comment, subscribe. I have this weird growth with this channel, like it's still slowly gain subscribers. I'm not sure if it's just like some videos that I done years ago. So who knows? If people watching, at least let me know why you're watching or why you're listening more so, because it's more of a podcast that I just want to throw on YouTube. I have some other videos in the works, so might have some fun things. It's just like one of those things I want to see what works, see how much I want to invest. It's kind of a hobby more than anything else. And I also want to mention I'm probably going to stream more often because I'm going to have a better opportunity to stream kind of like in peace and quiet without too much like background noise and stuff like that. So I am planning to do podcasts and upload the VODs here on YouTube. So if you want to catch the live streams, again, it's all going to be gaming. Pretty much don't think I'm going to do anything other streaming than that. But I do try to post tweets beforehand, and Twitch is where you can go. So all those social links are in the descriptions of all my YouTube videos, including this one. So subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And yeah, just some ideas for some certain uploads in the future. And not sure if it's going to be too stupid or too boring or whatever, but maybe just having fun with it. So again, also, like I mentioned, if you like the little segment I did about like news stories, let me know. If you have good sources of where to find these news stories, let me know. And I think I just got a package, so that's like maybe a good way to end my podcast. I know something like the background noise and it kind of distracts me too, but you probably are hearing my dog in the other room barking. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Give it a like, subscribe, and I'll just see you guys whenever.